This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
This is a special edition of Financial Insanity as we are bringing in a guest to help us talk about love and legacy. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And we're bringing in Dave Connolley. You've heard him before. He's been a lawyer in New Jersey for over 40 years and is a consultant currently for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo. And yes, we are all here to discuss estate planning for unmarried partners. Because you see, guys, in a world where love knows no bounds, many couples have chosen a path less traveled by opting for domestic partnership over marriage. But what happens when it comes to securing your future together, protecting your assets, and avoiding those notorious tax pitfalls? We all want to do that. Scott, talk about the fact that people may join domestic partnership agreements for various reasons, right?
There are so many reasons that I've noticed, whether you live in Florida, New Jersey, California, no matter where you live, every state is different, which is why I brought Dave in, and we've worked together so many years, and as a tremendous consultant now with Elizabeth. You know, I think we want to bring a lawyer on, and of course now as a consultant, because you may be listening to us right now, and you're living with a lovely spouse, and or not spouse, I shouldn't say, you're not married yet, but you're living with a loved one. You don't want to get married, and I've gone through this so many different scenarios, and I don't need to know why you don't want to get married. The question is what's going to happen if you don't get married, if you pass away. Is she or him, or maybe you have same-sex partners. It's all the same when it comes to this world. And Alex, the challenge I find is, what happens if one of you die? Let's say my girlfriend and I, we, of course, live in my house, and all of a sudden, it's my house. I have 3 children, and all of a sudden I die. Are my kids going to throw my girlfriend out, my lover out? This is so many problems. What happens if I go to the hospital, and then all of a sudden, who's going to make some decisions? What happens if I die and my lover gets some of my assets? What's the taxation? So I wanted to bring Davey in because he's seen this so many times. And I can tell you, when I handle people's finances, this is a problem. This is nothing to put off, guys. If this is you, or maybe you have a friend, or maybe you have maybe you're thinking about maybe having your lover move in with you, and you're not sure how to handle it. You're not sure how to talk to your kids, with over 42 years of experience. Let's have that talk, Alex. People need to give us a call, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that number, if you hear something today that resonates with you, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And we're not going to have tons of time to dive into each one of these common reasons to join a domestic partnership agreement, to obtain one, but we're going to try to go through this list as best we can. And let's start with one obvious one, guys: tax benefits. Talk a little bit about the potential tax benefits of joining this sort of agreement.
Dave, you just faced a case right now that we're working on together. We won't say names.
Right.
And you've been helping this family amazing. And this couple did not get married. They were about to get married. Dave, share what's going on and the nightmare and the expense that they could have avoided.
The good news is that the estate is worth close to $2 million, which is great. The bad news is that for personal reasons, that the couple who were living together for several years did not want to get married at this time and did not enter into a domestic partnership agreement. He was in his 50s and unfortunately took a heart attack and left everything to his live-in. And as a result of not being married, they are going to pay, or she's going to pay, somewhere around $300,000 to the state of New Jersey. That's inheritance taxes. That could have been afforded if they had, even if they're not married, if they had registered as a domestic partnership. Domestic partnership is given the same benefits in inheritance taxes as a married couple. So the $300,000 would have went away and everything still would have went to the spouse. But you have to take that initial step to register for the domestic partnership. In order to qualify for a domestic partnership, it can be same-sex couples or opposite sex. You have to be both parties have to be 62 years or older. They have to share a common residence in New Jersey. Both have to be jointly responsible for each other's common welfare and have either financial arrangements that they're both responsible for each other, joint ownership in real estate, joint ownership in personal property, and then they're truly responsible for each other. They have to, neither applicant can be married or in a civil union relationship with another party. You have to take this application for domestic partnership and you file it in any municipality in the state of New Jersey. You take the application, you fill it out in front of a notary, you pay a fee, I think it's $28, and then they will give you an affidavit of domestic partnership confirming that you are in a relationship. That would eliminate the inheritance taxes, and that's probably the biggest benefit.
Well, and Dave, you talked $28 there, roughly to get that, to save yourself $300,000. And what I hear sometimes is people will say, well, I'm not getting married. It's just paperwork. It doesn't mean anything. It's just whatever. Government can just get our hand in our relationship or something. Well, this is a great example of, that little bit of paperwork, there can be a good reason. You become incapacitated or, God forbid you pass away. You want to have things lined up correctly. And sometimes if it's not a marriage, this sort of domestic partnership agreement can protect you. And so thank you for going over the tax benefits. And I skipped over one, legal protections, an obvious one as well, kind of in the same vein there. So if you would, discuss that a little bit, legal protections for a couple in this sort of agreement.
I'd met a couple, a lovely couple. They've been living together for 17 years. And I said, why the heck you guys ain't getting married now? What's going on? Oh, Scotty, we've been through it. My lovely girlfriend here, and I want to make sure she's taken care of. And but I didn't want to, I just didn't want to go that route. Okay, great. So you've been together 17 years. And I said to this young lady, because she was the owner of the house, we'll call her Maggie. We'll call her like my daughter's name. So Maggie was married to, let's say, a guy named Tom. And so Maggie and Tom are not married, but together 17 years. And I said, Maggie, in the event you pass away, is Tom allowed to stay at the house? Because Tom has 2 children and Maggie has 3 children. And Maggie said, well, sure he can. Do you have something in writing? Well, no. Dave, if you remember this family, you did
Absolutely.
The agreement, and basically, what would happen if they didn't do a agreement? What do you call this agreement to make sure that this partner, Tom, can stay in Maggie's house, take care of it? What are the rules in this case? Because I see this, they love each other. The kids know all the kids know each other, but you know what? The crows and the clowns show up at the funeral. What do you do?
In New Jersey, a partner that is not registered, if you're living with a partner and you're not registered as a domestic partner, that partner has absolutely no rights in the deceased party's estate. The only rights come via the deceased party's last will and testament. So if the person is not named in a last will and testament, if the survivor is not named at all and everything goes to the deceased person's children, then they're out of luck. The children can do anything they want with the property, and the survivor has absolutely no rights. So it's not only a tax issue, it's also an issue of your rights in the estate of your domestic partner. You're treated as a spouse if you have the domestic partnership filed. If you don't have it, you're not treated as a spouse. Basically, you're treated as a stranger.
What about this rule? I hear people saying, well, I heard that if you common law, if we're married, if we're together for XYZ years, we have common law. What are they saying?
Ain't no such thing as common law in New Jersey.
Okay. Alex?
That's as easy as that is. All right, guys, we got about one more minute here. And so what I want you to do, I want you to roll into the phone number, but finish off with, a 1 minute thought on the healthcare benefits. Just real quickly, the benefits from a healthcare perspective when you're in a partnership like this.
Well, the healthcare is normally given by an employer to an employee. Most of the employers are treating a domestic partner the same as a spouse. But it's not law that the state can rule and regulate. It's the companies regulated, and the companies are going towards giving the domestic partner the same rights as a spouse. And the domestic partnership law is statewide. So each state has to recognize it. If your state does not recognize it, you don't have a domestic partnership relationship, and it's not governed by federal law. So if you're a domestic partner, you can file a joint return with the state of New Jersey. If you're a domestic partnership, you still cannot file a joint return with the federal government. It has to be individual.
And Scott,
but Alex, it goes one more thing. It's called who's going to make the decision if you're in the hospital, nursing care. Who's making those decisions? That goes to the power of attorney agreement. In addition to what Dave was mentioning about this tremendous agreement that people need to put in place.
Yep, very important stuff. And if you have questions about this, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. We got more reasons coming up here for common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. This is really interesting stuff. We're going to come right back, talk about parental rights, financial planning, and more on the other side. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us today on a special edition of Financial Insanity. Scott and I, joined by Dave Connolley. He's been a lawyer in the area for over 40 years, currently a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo. Today, we're talking about estate planning for unmarried partners. Oh yeah, we cover it all, baby. And we are going over some common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. We just love on this show, and we just want to help you no matter what your love looks like. Let's talk here about parental rights, and I know we also want to get into financial planning.
Thanks, Alex. I'm so glad that if you're listening right now, we've spoken about it a lot. I want you to be able to go back to our website and be able to listen to this recording. If you are thinking about moving in with your lover, maybe you're in with your lover right now, I can promise you need to take your legal. Now, why would a financial planner talk about these legal documents? Because I call the three blind mice, and they don't talk to each other. And there we could do financial planning, which Alex just spent time we're going to talk about. But the question is financial planning not only encompasses money, it also encompasses the assets, like the house, like the other real estates, property. Dave, Alex brought up an issue about parental rights. Now, obviously, this is different. So go over that, Dave.
If there's an issue of parental rights, there's going to be, in all likelihood, a court hearing. A lot of people go into the domestic relationship with the idea that if they don't want to continue with that relationship, all they have to do is file a notice of termination with the same township that they filed the original domestic relationship documents with, and it's done. And that's correct. But if there's a problem with parental rights, if there's a problem with distribution of property, then you're in the same type of relationship as a married couple getting divorced. So you do have the rights of a spouse with respect to your children. You do have the rights of a spouse with respect to distribution of property, but you're in family court arguing the matter.
That could cost a lot of money. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you can't eliminate that if the parties can't agree to distribution of property or custody of child and visitation. It has to go to court, and the only one that can decide is a judge. But you're not getting any more or any less rights by entering into a domestic partnership. If everything is agreed to, you don't have to go through a divorce. You just file a termination and you're done.
So this leads us into the will. Now it leads us into the power of attorney. The power of attorney, let's say, is we spoke about Tom and Maggie, the clients you helped before. Tom had 2 children. Maggie had 3. They lived in Maggie's house. But Maggie, of course, lights went dim, and now she's in the nursing home, and she didn't update her legal documents. Now her children take over, even though Tom may be able to stay in the house if they fix that. And now Maggie's children are in charge, and Tom has to stand on the side and say nothing. Is that about right, Dave?
Yeah, if they don't have a domestic partnership filed, then Tom has no rights in the house. If they do, then he has the same rights as a spouse.
But how about rights to speak to the doctor? How about rights to say what medicine she can take? How about rights that would be the power of attorney? Is that right for healthcare matters?
The primary documents you have is a power of attorney, the healthcare directive, and that names a person that will represent the party in the hospital. Without that, it's a very gray area, and it depends on whether the hospital will talk to the domestic partner or not, or the kids. They don't want to get sued. That's the biggest concern of the hospital, not to make a decision based upon one party when you have several parties disagreeing with that decision.
Yep. So we have the issue I mentioned before. Tom's got 2 children living at Maggie's house. Maggie has the assets. Maggie signed some paperwork giving Tom the life rights, I guess, until he passes away or something like that. I guess whatever Dave's going to say. The next question is, of course, the stock market is dropping, and maybe Maggie wants to get her money out of the accounts and move them to a safer position. Maggie doesn't know how to do it. Tom knows how to do it. So that's called a power of attorney for financial matters, but her children are involved. What happens?
Power of attorney takes precedence over the children being involved. If Maggie had executed any documents appointing her domestic partner as being in charge, that'll prevail to the extent of overturning any decision that the children want.
Right. So Maggie being obviously her kids are in charge. Tom has to stand on the sideline and watch all this happen with nothing to say. And after 17 years, you'd figure you'd have something to say. Guys, if you're out there and you haven't had a legal review, a financial review, I call it the 3D approach. Alex, we spoke about the 3D approach at our firm. Alex, can you explain what we spoke about the 3D approach when we meet with people and the process that's so important because they're leaving the tax, the legal, and the finances out?
Yeah, well, and that's what it's all about. It's that if you're not taking a 3D approach, you're not looking at everything. And that's what you can do is you're going to look at all aspects to make sure that everything is covered. And so you're going to go through all the 3Ds, Scott, and explain the Ds for folks so that they can understand when they come into you. This will help give them guidance of where the conversation is going to go.
It's so important if you have, as I say so many times when I meet with people, first time I meet with people, we talk about the 3D, the dreams, the dollars, and the dynasty. The dream portion is what you want. What does it look like? So in case if you're a domestic partnership, maybe you need to clean up your legal stuff as well as your financial stuff we're going to talk about, which goes into the dollars. Let's fix this up. Who takes care? And then the dynasty. Who's going to help you through this matter? This is where you pull in the three blind mice. Well, let's take their glasses off, take a 3D approach, look at the dreams, look at your dollars, look at your dynasty. So at McLean Advisory Group, we take a look at everything. This is not just simply set it and forget it. This is not simply let's just take care of the money. Well, just today I had an appointment saying I never had this approach. I don't know why people don't do this. And Dave and I have been together for over 40-something years, Dave in the legal world, me in the financial world, and I just still don't understand why they don't do it, but I do know it. It's how do I get the money quickly and I can go on to the next victim or next person. I shouldn't say it that way, but I feel that way because they're not looking at everything, and this is why the three blind mice could destroy how it leads your money to a financial mousetrap.
Yep. And if you want McLean Advisory Group to take that 3D look, to take that holistic approach at your retirement, your finances, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Really enjoying today being joined by Dave Connolley, who is a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo and has been a lawyer in New Jersey for over 40 years. Like Scott just mentioned, they've been working closely together for a very long time, and they still like each other, which is great, coming on here and doing the radio with us. Yeah. Well, I was trying, Scott. All right, so let's talk here about property. How can being in this sort of agreement, when we're talking about a domestic partnership, maybe, we're not going through marriage, we're getting this agreement instead, how can this maybe protect some property that is owned by the couple or maybe a member of the relationship?
Well, the primary thing is to get the documents in place that would distribute the property at a person's death. Primarily the last will and testament, and that should be reviewed every couple of years to make sure that the facts are still consistent and nothing has to be changed. If there is no marriage and there is no domestic partnership, then the person who owns the property can do anything they want. The person that is living there as a partner but with no formal documentation has no interest in any of the property that the other person has. So to protect the parties, I've seen where, as Scott says, people have been together for 15, 20 years, never filed anything, never got married. The male passes away and the female, who is the survivor, has no interest in anything, and everything just goes by intestacy to his kids.
Yep. Well, and Scott, finish off this segment here just talking about how that you are going to have a domestic partnership, a couple come in and talk to you just like a married couple. You're going to help them with their financial planning. Just talk about how the access and the benefits of getting that financial planning is something that this agreement can help with as well.
When we go through the process, people come in, we are looking, as you said, Alex, as everything. What if scenarios? Every scenario is a what if scenario. So in the event of the illustration we gave about Tom and Maggie living in the house, the question is, do they have, where's Tom going to go? What's going to happen? How much assets? Let's say Tom has a pension and Maggie has a pension, but they don't have the benefits, and the benefits can't afford keeping the house up. What's going to happen? What happens if Tom goes to the nursing home? Who's going to pay for it? Or let's say Maggie goes into the nursing home. Tom's taking care of the house. Who's paying the upkeep of the house? This is the scenario when people meet with our firm, and we've got wonderful people in our firm with tax and legal, as well as the financial planners, myself, George, other people. We think about this. I need to know the whole picture. What are the dreams? Do you plan on staying? Do you want to move? This is not a cookie cutter solution, because they don't work. Everybody's not the same, obviously. I'm a lot better looking than Dave or Alex. I can tell you that because I'm blind. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter when you pass away. It matters when you're alive. The question is, what's in writing? The whole meeting of today is, what's in writing? What are the rules? So when the kids step into the picture, I call them the crows and the clowns, show up at the funeral. And the question is, that's where Pandora's box opens up, and assets, fees, taxes, as we spoke about in this show, can get disgusting and avoidable. This is why when people visit with us, Alex, by the way, if you're listening to me right now, please don't put this off. Procrastination is the mother of most people. Give our studios a call. I'd love to speak. If you want to speak to myself off the air, you want to speak to Dave, call our studio, 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. Have your questions written down. We'll go right to the meat of it, but I want to know the whole picture. And that's when people visit with us one-on-one. We can get the both pictures from both of the partners coming into the office, not just one side, because you may be out there thinking you're going to do this, but your partner is thinking something totally different. Why? Because you haven't brought it to light.
Yep.
Putting things off causes bigger problems. It causes the problem to exponentially multiply. 609-488-4646. Hey, we're here for you guys. Doing this business now for over 40 years, helping one-on-one, helping you make smart decisions with your money. Give us a call. We'd love to take your call and help you and guide you through this jungle of decisions.
Yep. Thank you for that, Scott. Today, discussing common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. We're going to go over end-of-life decisions, retirement benefits, and more when we come back. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us today. A special edition. They're all special, but this one's even more special than usual. It's Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman alongside Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And we're joined here by Dave Connolley. I guess it's been long enough that Dave said, all right, it's been long enough. I'll come back and talk with you guys again. Dave is a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo, been a lawyer, though, in the area of New Jersey for over 40 years. Discussing today estate planning for unmarried partners, as this is something that's really been growing as far as in popularity in recent years and decades. So there are some common reasons for couples to obtain a domestic partnership agreement. We've been going over those today. Let's talk about something very important, guys, end-of-life decisions and having this agreement in place and how critical that can be.
Well, as we were speaking about, whose house is it? Let's say it's a joint house, or maybe one of the other's houses, do you have the right to stay there? That's critical. You need to know that. In addition to that question, let's say in our segments before, we had Tom and Maggie in Maggie's house. Tom is living with Maggie 17 years. This is a case that Dave helped with. The names have been changed. But notwithstanding, now Maggie goes to a nursing home. Dave is in her house. Could he be kicked out? I don't know. And then Maggie passes away. Can she be kicked out if there's no agreement in place? Dave, what happens to our friend Tom? Is he going to go have to look around for another place?
In all likelihood, he will. And not only that, the nursing home, if you're in a nursing home, will also put a lien on a house. If it was owned by domestic partners or spouses, they can only attach half the house. If it's just in the person who is in the nursing home, then the nursing home can attach the full house for any payments of costs.
If you're listening out there, Dave made a very important point. I get this all the time, and I have Dave say it again, but this is very important. I get it time after time. Should I put my house into an irrevocable trust to protect from nursing home? I want to protect that money so my partner can stay there. But if my partner dies, all the money goes to my kids when my partner dies. This is so important, Dave. Go back again and say that again if you're a domestic partner versus not. Guys, this is protecting your assets from the nursing home facilities.
The Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is very important. It's very complicated to understand. Basically, you're putting your house in a trust that will insulate any liens being put on the house if a person is getting Medicaid in order to go into a nursing home. And a lot of people think Medicaid is only for the poor. Well, that's the intent, but you can own a house with equity of $950,000 and still qualify for Medicaid. So it's a complicated area, but it's something that people should at least take a look at to see if they want to take that approach in order to protect their assets. You need to be married if you're going to protect the asset for the person that is not going into the nursing home. Like I say, it's a very complicated area of law, and it's not only law, it contains a lot of different elements, such as financial planning, but it's something that you have to sit down and really study and say, am I willing to give up my house, put it into a trust, and at that point, it will be protected from my creditors.
Talking today about domestic partnership agreements. Very important stuff. Some common reasons to obtain one of these if you are out there and maybe a marriage not in the cards, just a decision, or maybe you just kind of want to know the difference here, or maybe you're in a domestic partnership and you're not even sure of all the things that entails. And so talking about that today, if something raises questions for you, the number is 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. And talk here briefly along the same lines of what we've been hitting on, but cohabitation agreement, and how does this, is this part of a reason why someone might join a domestic partnership agreement?
It depends on what's in the agreement. You put anything you want in an agreement, cohabitation or whatever, but it's not going to be the same. It's an agreement between parties. It's not the same as a domestic partnership agreement, which is sanctioned by the state. And as a result, you get more benefits from the state, such as being able to file a joint tax return. So whatever the agreement, a cohabitation agreement is, it's only as good as the terms and conditions that are negotiated, whereas a domestic partnership agreement is by law. It tells you what you can and can't do.
No, that's very good.
Dave, let's say I've got a girlfriend, we'll call her Sue, and Sue and I it's my house. Sue is living with me. And so all of a sudden, I give Sue, we don't have any agreements, nothing in place, but I go to the lawyer and he gives me, draws up an agreement. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to give Sue life rights to my house. And in the event I pass away or going to the nursing home, Sue has the right to stay in that house until she dies, becomes disabled, or if she decides to move out, or maybe she decides to get married. Hey, I don't want Sue and her new spouse or boyfriend to move in or girlfriend to move in my house. Is there such an agreement? When I die and she dies, I want to make sure that my kids get the full asset.
Absolutely. And you can even put that in a will. You can put that in a separate agreement. Basically, you're saying that you're giving your partner the ability to stay as a tenant in the house, so long as that person pays for all the repair, upkeep, taxes, or whatever else is involved in maintaining the house. And upon the death or moving out or going into a nursing home of that person, then the agreement will be held null and void, and the children can sell the house or do whatever they want. That's definitely a valid agreement.
So really, if I don't want to for those people who are saying, I don't want to get married, I don't want a domestic partnership, but I do want to take care of my sweetie, this is another way to do it, but it's not is it perfected? Is it okay to do that?
It's definitely okay, but it's between two parties. One party determining the terms and conditions of how the other party will stay in the house.
Can the kids kick Sue out? Let's say I decide to let Sue stay there. I pass away. She has life rights. Can they kick Sue out if I give her life rights?
Well, I can try to, but it's up to the court to determine whether the agreement will hold water or not. If the agreement is valid and written with strong language, and they're going to lose. The kids are going to lose. If the agreement is haphazard, well, they may win. It depends on how strong the agreement is. But you can always contest the agreement. The question is, are you going to win or lose?
Alex, I find this funny because when I meet with people, it's funny when I ask people to visit with our firm and we go over the 3D approach, whether it's the dreams, the dollars, or the dynasty, as we talk about the dynasty now, and meeting, I want to read their will, power of attorney, living will. This is the problem I see when it comes to life decisions. And then it goes into the retirement benefits, the benefits coming in from the financial planning and the assets, and where do they go, and what happens to the assets that maybe the one of the parties were expecting to come in to pay the house. Now they can't even afford to stay in the house. This is a problem. This is why people meet with me, and over again, I'm drilling down to find out what's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario. What do we focus on, Alex? What's the worst case scenario? Because people don't think worst case is going to happen. Today, you're healthy. You see, you're playing golf on the golf course. You're bowling alley. You're having fun, having a pizza and playing mahjong. And the next day, you can't even wake up and move. This is life. It's not the golden years for many people. It's the rusty years. And boy, when the rust happens, the problem is we got to go to the dynasty planning, the legacy. This is a problem.
Right. And that's why it's just so important to talk about this, to talk about a domestic partnership agreement, just to get this out here. And this has been really interesting, maybe eye-opening for some folks that are out there, and maybe they don't have any paperwork. And I know it's not the sexiest thing. It's not the most exciting thing, but
not at all.
But Scott and Dave and Scott there in his office can help you through the process, and it really can be beneficial. And we just have a little bit of time left. Again, that number is 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And maybe just close this segment by talking about the personal commitment the agreement can serve as well, because that's obviously a huge part of this.
This goes between the lawyer, financial advisor, and the two partners to help them really guide you along. Our job as a financial planner and as a lawyer is not to tell you what to do, but since we've gone down this road now, Dave over 40 years and me over 40 years, although Dave's a lot older and I'm a lot better looking, but after a period of time, you kind of learn a thing or two, and we can guide you, but we're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to tell you several situations that we have been involved with that you probably are not involved with. This is all we do. This is nothing but this is all we do. This is our passion. I mean, I can tell you that if you haven't sat down and your financial advisor hasn't reviewed the legal documents as well as the tax documents and financial documents and haven't spoken to those of you that are possibly thinking about domestic partnership, those of you that maybe that are married and haven't really reviewed this is a problem. And those of you who have no documents, this is just don't be double dumb. Take action and get to it, because there's nothing worse than procrastination. And all of a sudden, I can tell you, Dave has done this several times. He has to take a road trip, go to the hospital, and meet with people. Dave, do you remember that? I mean, you've been to several hospitals and you have to do paperwork. Tell the audience what you've noticed.
Well, at that time, hopefully they're still cognizant and they can talk to you and let you know what they want to do. Otherwise, it's too late.
Dave said it's too late. It's never too late. Give our studios a call. Let's talk about it. Don't put this off. You give us studios. Come down here, speak to Bonnie, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Meet with me in person, no cost, no obligation. I promise you, I give you my word, because why? It's good, and we've been around for many years. I want to make sure you're buttoned up, and this is how our name gets out there, why we have such a great name in the area, and want to invite you to down 609-488-4646. Alex,
yes,
thanks for allowing us to share the show with you, because I know it's not being done, and this is critical.
No, so good. And Dave, thanks for joining us today, my friend.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. This is Financial Insanity.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off
that's right.
the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
That's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
As you could imagine, Scott gets questions each and every week about all things retirement, and we're going to open up some of these questions now. It's our mailbag segment, some common retirement questions. So, Scott, first off, thought this was a good one. We are seriously considering relocating now that we're a few years into retirement. Nothing is off the table, including moving abroad. Ooh la la. What are some things we should think about, Scott, when trying to decide where the heck we should go?
Well, we just moved from Manahawkin, New Jersey, and my wife and I and daughter and family moved up to a place called Southampton, New Jersey, out to our farm. Many people know we have a farm and many horses out there in Southampton. You know, what do you think about? Number one, the expense of moving. Number two, the pain in the applesauce it is to move. And number three, are you away from the kids or not? So when I talk to people that are thinking about maybe getting a second home, maybe down south, a lot of people are talking to me now, Scott, what do you think we should do? How do we leverage our money? Where do we take the money from, Scott, to move? I've heard so many people ask these questions. If you're out there thinking about it, I'd love to speak to you, because what I've found is people are taking the money from the wrong accounts, or they're not leveraging their money. They're not perhaps borrowing money on the new house to buy, waiting for their house to sell. The market's getting a little bit softer now lately. And as we see interest rates go up, it's going to get worse. So if you're going to sell, you might want to think about it right away. But notwithstanding, there's a lot of questions to find out. Do you like the area? Maybe you should move partially. For example, last family was just here, which is just last week, which is why I'm funny. You were asking these questions. People are calling all the time, these questions. They moved to, let's say, Florida. And here these people from North Jersey moved to Florida. They're clients of ours. And they say, Scott, what do you think? I said, well, number one, leave your North Jersey attitude in New Jersey and become a Floridian and relax. Don't ruin yourself. But notwithstanding, do you like the area? Maybe you should rent. Well, Scott, we're throwing money away. I hear all the time. We're just throwing money away if we rent. Okay. But what better would it be, Alex, to throw your money away for a year and find out you don't like it?
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden you find out maybe the kids, you'll fly back and forth. It sounds good, but let me help those of you. It's a chore flying back and forth when your daughter or son finally pops out the first baby, second baby, third baby. You want to be around the kids, and all of a sudden you want to be near the grandchildren. Or maybe your spouse wants to be the grandchildren more than you. Well, now you're spending a lot of money you didn't think you were going to spend. So that move could be a best move in the world, or it could be devastating. That's why I say to some people, what's holding you here? Why are you staying? Do you want to stay? Well, maybe you should rent. Mm-hmm. But Scott, it costs more to rent. Okay, let's say you sell your house for $300,000. You made a nice profit. Take $20,000 and go ahead and blow it. That's right, rent.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know if you don't like it. Now, if you like it, great. Number two, as the stock market is waffling right now, real estate prices are starting to contract. You can get that information anywhere. Should you wait? If you got a big purchase, should you wait? So that is Alex, that question you're asking is not a simple question. It's not a generic question for me to say, yes, move. No. Everybody's so different. Perhaps you're going through medical conditions right now, and it's hard to change doctors. Well, that would be a concern. So that's, again, another reason maybe you should rent or not rent. Are you going to work down there, making new friends? So this is really, really could really eat into your wallet very rapidly with the bad mistake. Now, by the way, I'm not saying don't worry about making mistakes. Just add them up. Do a really a top-down approach, the pros and cons, a side-by-side approach, and think, okay, should I move or shouldn't I move? And then where does the money come from? Do I have enough cash? Should I borrow on my house to buy a new house and then sell my house? Well, that might be an opportunity. I have purchased lots of real estate over my life. I have been really blessed to build a development here in Toms River called Todd Road Estates. I've been really blessed in the area to get involved in real estate, let alone from my horse farm, the equestrian center we have out in Southampton, but yet in Ocala we have one. But the real question is, are we burning too much cash, not burning too much cash? This is a loaded question. I know I'm all over the map for those listening to me, but let me help you out. If you're thinking about moving, I'm excited for you. I want the best for everybody, but there's a lot of questions to ask before you pull the trigger.
Here's a good one. So this person sent it in for their dad. They says, my dad's a worrier, and now I'm afraid he's going to worry himself to death over everything that he sees on social media.
That's real.
He's constantly getting all of this information, and it seems to be worrying him, scaring him. What advice can this person give to their father when it comes to social media and all this financial news?
Everybody has their view. I have my view. Alex, you have your view. We have different views. That's why I like looking at history. What can history teach us versus trying to guesstimate? History has a good way of repeating itself more often than not. But again, we have to have many different advisors. I think with one advisor in your world, in your life, because the wisdom comes from many advisors in the book I read. And oftentimes we need that. How do you tell your dad? Dad, let's come on. You got. I don't know if you can tell your parents anything. They're going to do what they want to do. They're probably set in their ways. I don't mean to be ugly. I can just tell you if they're set in their ways, or maybe you can say, let's go find a hobby. But then you need to say, Dad, or Mama, these are two different opinions. Opinions are everybody has their opinion, but let's see what we can find out. Let's call a couple people and get their feedback. But I can tell you that will cause, psychologically, we know for a fact that bad news causes your health to decline. It's a positive mental attitude, not saying, oh, I hope the deficit goes away. No, we got to fix it. But it's keeping your head in the muck starts to smell. I can promise you. So they need to help get another advice, perhaps come in and say, let's talk to somebody else about it. But they need a fresh opinion. It sounds like they're kind of stuck in the muck. And it's really hard to do. Be very patient with your older parents, because pretty much it's going to be hard to change that habit. I'm sorry.
It's very true. No, very true. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And we have time for one more question. And this is a good one this time of year. Hearing this a lot, I'm sure. Do you help people with Medicare is the question. I've been getting a lot of mail and phone calls about it, and it's really overwhelming.
Medicare has so many questions, but Obama actually came up with a simple plan. Whether you like him or not, they came up with a simple plan. The question is, when you pick the right products, and this is where you really want to make your decisions on picking the Medicare plan. And then, of course, what plan's the best for you? Everybody's different. And then what is the best prescription plan to go? And so you can go on the website and look that up to find out what kind of medication you're taking. So it seems like an easy answer, but it's not. You could get from Gerber, remember Gerber baby food, and of course, the Mutual of Omaha. Well, those are still plans out there. And there's some really good ones out there. People call us all the time. They want to find out what they can change to. Frankly, we're going to be building a department just for that area, because people need those help. And very simple, but it's not simple. Simple is not always easy. I promise you that.
Yep, that is for sure. Well, Scott, take us home here. Final thoughts as we wrap up today's program.
Guys, working in this industry now, I think of the past going on 41 years now, you've got questions. And the challenge I find in our industry is maybe you leave the questions on the shelf and you forget about them, and you don't ask the questions, or maybe you forget to ask the advisor. We encourage people, when people call us, they come into our office, write your questions down, bring them in. When people meet with them, I always say, hide your checkbook, hide your wallet. You cannot do business with me. Today, let's get to understand each other. Let's see if I can be of help. Perhaps you have an advisor you've had for 10, 15, 20 years. He might or she might be the best advisor in the world just for you. But there's something out there that maybe you should just get a second opinion. I promise you, if you had that pain in your hip for a long time, you might want to get a second opinion. And if you don't want to get that surgery, maybe you get a third opinion. By putting things on the shelf, you're putting or procrastinating, pushing things away. As we started one of the shows before, we spoke about diversifying your portfolio by using alternative investments, by paying attention to your taxes, Alex, you brought up today, and by paying attention to the legal documents. Is my estate of affairs in order? I promise you, after talking to a client today, they got their power of attorney as they head out to a trip tomorrow, and they're going to be going overseas. What better advice to get? Get your ducks in a row. Get all of your stuff out to your advisor. He or she should be answering these questions. Otherwise, you're stuck in the mousetrap. That's right. You're snapped because you didn't ask these questions. Write them down. Give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. I'd love to speak to you off the air. 609-488-4646 to help guide you make the right decisions with your money, because that wrong decision could cost you tons and tons of taxes, loss of money, and worry. The economy is not right now. So don't put this on the shelf, crossing your fingers and toes, thinking it's going to get better. I'm here to help you. 609-488-4646, McLean Advisory. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.